So what does a manager actually do? We see that title everywhere, right? On a business card, on an office door, but what's really going on behind that title? I can tell you it is way more than just being the boss. It's this incredible juggling act. And when it's done right, it's basically the magic that makes any group effort work. So today, let's pull back that curtain and really figure this thing out.
Here's our roadmap. First, we're going to define what a manager even is. Then we'll get into the three main faces, or, hats they have to wear. After that, we are diving deep into their full 10-part toolkit. Then we'll zoom out and see how this stuff applies literally everywhere. And finally, we'll tackle the big one. What's the whole point of all this anyway?
All right, first up, who is a manager? Before we get into any frameworks or fancy terms, let's just strip it all back. Forget the corner office, forget the stereotypes. What is this role at its absolute core?
Okay, let me ask you a question. What could a bank manager, the manager of your favorite restaurant, and, your mom, what could they possibly have in common? I mean, their day-to-day lives look completely different, right? But believe it or not, they're all playing the exact same game.
Because here's the answer. At the end of the day, a manager is a coordinator. Their one big job is to get a bunch of different people to pull in the same direction to hit a goal. Think of an orchestra conductor. She doesn't play every instrument, right? But she's the one who brings all those musicians together to make something beautiful. That's management. It's about getting things done through and with other people.
And this is where a brilliant thinker named Henry Mintzberg really cleared things up for everyone. He basically said, look, I don't care if you're running a huge tech company or a tiny little coffee shop. Every single manager out there is constantly juggling three main roles: a people role, an information role, and a decision-making role. And this simple idea, well, it's the key to unlocking everything.
So let's take a closer look at these three faces. I like to think of them as three different hats a manager has to swap between, sometimes, in the span of 5 minutes.
Okay, so you've got your interpersonal roles. That's all about human connection. Then there are the informational roles, where the manager is like the central nervous system for the team. And finally, the decisional roles. This is where the tough calls get made. And the wild part is, pretty much every single task a manager does fits neatly into one of these three buckets. All right, now for the nitty-gritty. If those are the three big categories, what's actually inside them? Well, this is where Mintzberg identified 10 very specific roles. You can think of this as the manager's ultimate toolkit. And here it is, the whole map. You can see how these 10 roles, everything from being a figurehead all the way to being a negotiator, they all slot perfectly under those three main categories we just talked about. So let's do a quick flyby of what these actually look like in the real world.
First up, the interpersonal or people roles. You've got the figurehead. This is the symbolic stuff, like when a manager greets a special visitor or hands out an award. Then there's the leader, and this one is the heart of it all, motivating the team, coaching them, building that sense of shared purpose. And finally, the liaison, which is all about building a network, connecting your team to other parts of the company and to the outside world.
Next up, the informational roles. As a monitor, the manager is kind of like a radar, always scanning the environment for important info. Then they put on the disseminator hat, making sure that crucial information gets to the right people on the team who need it. And finally, they act as the spokesperson, communicating what the team is doing to people on the outside, whether that's in a big meeting or just an email update.
And last but not least, we have the action-packed decisional roles. As an entrepreneur, the manager is looking for opportunities and starting new projects. As a disturbance handler, they're the firefighter, jumping in to solve problems when things go wrong. As the resource allocator, they have the tough job of deciding who gets the money, the time, and the people. And finally, as a negotiator, they're making deals, whether it's with a new hire or another department. Okay, so we've taken apart the manager's toolkit. Now, let's zoom out. Because here's the thing. Management isn't just a job for people with the title manager. It's a fundamental human process, and you'll find it happening absolutely everywhere.
So what is this process? Well, you could say management is the art of creating the right environment for a group to achieve its goals. But here's the catch. It's not just about getting the job done. It's about getting it done well. And that means being both effective and efficient.
So what's the difference? Look, effectiveness is just about completing the task. Did you hit the deadline? Yes or no? Efficiency is about how you did it. Did you do it without wasting time, money, or energy? See, anyone can be effective if you just throw enough resources at a problem. The real magic of management is finding that balance, being both effective and efficient.
And I mean, this process is universal. You'll see it in a hospital managing patient care, at a temple organizing a festival, in a school planning the curriculum, at your local salon scheduling appointments, and yes, even in your own home when you're trying to figure out a family vacation. Anytime people try to do something together, management is the engine that drives it.
All right, so we've covered the what and the how, but that leaves the biggest question of them all. Why? Why do all this? What is the ultimate point of all this coordinating, planning, and decision-making?
Well, it turns out it's not just one single goal. It's actually three, and they're all linked together. The best way to think about it is like a three-legged stool. If any one of these legs is missing, the whole thing falls over. And together, they work to create value. So first you have the organizational objectives. This is the obvious stuff. The business needs to survive, make a profit, and grow. Then you've got social objectives. No organization exists in a vacuum. It has to provide some benefit to society like creating jobs or making useful products. And finally, and this is so important, are the personal objectives, making sure the people who work there can meet their own needs and grow as individuals. And this really gets to the core of why this all matters so much. You could have the most brilliant people, all the money in the world, and a game-changing idea, but if you don't have good management to bring it all together, what do you really have? Nothing but potential. Management is the force that turns that potential into actual results.
So, what's the bottom line here? It's this. Good management is like alchemy. It takes talented people and the right resources and combines them to create something extraordinary, something far greater than what any single one of those people could have ever done on their own.
So from now on, when you see a team that's just clicking, where everything seems to flow perfectly, or you see a project that's a total mess, you'll know what's really going on. You'll see the invisible hand of management at work. Which leaves just one last question, and this one isn't for me, it's for you. Now that you have this framework, this 10-role toolkit, how are you going to use it to be a better manager at your job, in your community, or maybe even just in your own life?